was interesting. I think that was the old intro. Don't you think that was the old intro?
Hey,
Welcome to
but you know
Sales
what?
Logic.
We're here. You're Meredith Elliott Powell. I'm Mark Hunter. And isn't it great to do Sales Logic?
Yeah, it is. What do we got on tap for today, Mark?
We have got on tap. The topic is going to be the art of dealing with getting ghosted. Oh, come on. Who hasn't been ghosted? We got a great book that's going to line up with it. And we've got a top 10. Well, we got a top 10 list. I'm going to tease you with it. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's good. You got to stick around for it. So let's jump into it. The art of dealing with getting ghosted. What do you think?
Do you think, I was thinking about this topic this morning because I was looking at it. And do you think the ghosting has increased?
Yes, I think it has increased because customers are more hesitant than ever to make a decision. And there are more people involved in the decision and priorities are changing. So there's a sundry of reasons as to why. But it's happening, and we, the sales community, have to be ready for it. I don't know. I've been ghosted on a number of things. Have you been ghosted?
Oh my God, I feel like I get ghosted now more than I've ever gotten ghosted. And I think the interesting thing about getting ghosted is I get ghosted by people who contacted me about work.
Yes.
Which is something that didn't. I think it's not only that there's more people involved. I think people are just ridiculously busy. And so I think ghosting is something we do not talk enough about in sales. And quite frankly, I think if you're not training your sales team on how to deal with getting ghosted, you're really missing a very important skill that they need and that they need to understand how to deal with. Because the first thing I think is you need to expect to get ghosted. I think you need to bake it into the sales cycle right now.
Oh, I think you do. And this is where it comes back to something we've talked about, and you talk about it a lot. Follow up. You have to have ready to go a complete set of value-added messages and reasons to be back in touch with them. You got to get this from the get-go, because I'll tell you what, you just have to expect it. And I think if you expect it, is that mentally putting you in a bad place? No, I think it's mentally putting you in a good place, because you're going to be ready to handle it, and you're not going to be blindsided when suddenly they don't return a phone call. They don't respond maybe the way you wanted them to.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to know and to understand about getting ghosted is it is rarely about you. It rarely has anything to do with you. I mean, think about your own day and the amount of things that you have on your plate to do. Even if there's I have had on my to-do list now it's probably going on 13 months to change my phone provider, who I have our cell phones with. And I've talked to 3 different companies. I've made a decision of who I want to go with. And I cannot find the time in my schedule to move those phones. So I think it's important to understand that ghosting is so rarely about you.
And that's something key to keep in mind, because again, you think about it. Those cell phone providers say, oh man, if we could just get a hold of Meredith Elliott Powell, I know we could save her money and and it makes sense to you. But in the grand scheme of everything you have going on, you just can't get there. Totally understand. And this is what's going on with our customers. But this is where it comes back to. How simple are we making it for our customers to do business with us? Because this is that we have to remove as much friction as possible. And that means make it as simple as possible. But it comes back to this burning question: urgency. Is the urgency there for the customer to make the move? And more times than not, it's just not there because of other things going on.
Yeah, Bill, you are thank you. Bill Snow says, I outshine Nelly Corda with my first hole-in-one. You are so right. I'm right up there with Nelly Corda, and I play tennis as well as her brother. So, here's the thing is that the other most important thing you need to understand about getting ghosted is, 1, you expect it. 2, it's not about you. Number 3, I would say, is to understand during the ghosting process, and I'm going to call it a process, you're telling your prospect what it's like to do business with you. Now, pay attention to what I said very, very closely, because if you pester them, if you insult them, if you joke with them, you are sending signals that you're not the type of person that they want to deal with. We have all had this experience where somebody sends an email like, this is the last time I'll ever contact you. If you don't respond to this, the deal's off the table. Or, I can't believe you're somebody, can't believe we had a really great conversation and now you're somebody who won't even email me back. What you just told me in those two emails or that conversation is that you're not somebody I want to do business with. Or somebody sends the joking email, oh, you must be, you must be off on a great vacation and totally forgot about me, type of a thing. Then you're silly. Or worst of all, you just stop following up. That tells me you're not somebody that I want to do business with because you're not persistent enough. Sorry, you're dying to jump in.
No, this is so key to what you're saying, because I had a situation the other day where I had a person who that they were to follow up with me and they didn't follow up with me, and they were at a funeral. They had a loved one pass away, and totally, I mean, again, it just happens. But what you talked about, we got to jump to the question of the week. And I'll tell you what, it's so cutting. I'm not going to share the person's name. You're going to hang with me on this. The gentleman is from Denver. He says, I just lost it with a prospect. We had talked. She was interested, asked me to do a proposal, which I did. Took hours, then nothing. I called, emailed, texted, nothing. Finally, I wrote her a less than professional email. This time she responded, told me she had a lot going on in her life and she was not blowing me off. She actually wanted to move forward until she got my email. Clearly, I need a better strategy for dealing with getting ghosted. This is the whole thing. Don't ever respond. This is why what you described, Mayor, so critical. Don't do the stupid responses. And don't do, this is a stupid negative response. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and basically what we're giving you here today is the strategy that you need around getting ghosted. And I love that you said clearly, I need a better strategy, because I think that's where we all need to begin. And what we said is, number one, expect it. Number two, know it's not about you. And number three, be very, very, present in the sense that how you handle ghosting is telling the prospect what it's like to do business with you. So then we move into step number 4, which is what Mark had said. You need a nurturing sequence. The worst thing, I think one of the worst things you can say in a follow-up is, I'm just checking in. And I know Mark's going to agree with that, because that drives him crazy. A better line might be something like, since the last time we spoke, I've seen this trend in your industry. We've been helping a lot of clients with this way. I thought you might find this valuable. And just find ways to continue to create a stronger sense of urgency and ways to show you are the natural choice to do business with.
Oh, that's so key. And you got to be bringing value. This is why when you go into that initial call, you got to say, what are going to be my next 5 communications? Do I have value added information? We've talked about this a lot, and that is knowing your customer's customer. What are some additional insights that you can share with them? What are some additional pieces? The idea is that you want them to see that you were on their side. But you're right. If I'm just checking in. Are you ready to buy? Those are messages of desperation. And it's not going to move somebody, because again, in this era that we're in, people are just plain, they're busy and they're conflicted with a lot of other priorities. And customers are only making decisions if it's their number 1 or number 2 priority. In fact, I think it's almost down to their number 1 priority. If it's
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. I think they're so busy that if it's not the most important thing on their desk that day, it's not what they're paying attention to. Osama, I think this is your first time. Welcome to the show. And yes, it is definitely rude of salespeople to reach out and to basically have that kind of response. But here's why sending emails that say, I'm just checking in, have you made a decision? Why it's bad form. And the reason it's bad form is because it's about you. And the moment that you're making a sales call from the perspective of what you need, you're telling the prospect, if we enter into a relationship, I will always prioritize my needs over yours. Sales in today's marketplace, especially the bigger the deal, it's about the small things. It's about the incremental things that your sales team does differently than the other sales team going after that deal. And this is one that is incredibly key.
And one of those key things that you can do, the little things, is you've had a couple conversations, we'll say, they ghost you. Then send them an email or a voicemail, whatever, send them a message that refers back to something that they shared with you in a previous meeting. Now, here's what that does. And again, we've talked about this before. It demonstrates to the customer that you remembered, you took interest in what they had to say. And now you're engaging them more in that. And by playing back what they said, what they shared with you, and asking a question on top of that, you now invite them to respond to you. Do they respond all the time? No, not at all. But it plants another seed that you care about them. And that's what it is. You have to make sure the entire focus is always about them. It's never about you. And this comes back to an episode that we had a few weeks ago about keeping a full pipeline. Because if you've only got one deal in your pipeline, you don't have there's not much in your pipe to smoke. You're in trouble. You've got to have a robust pipeline.
Mark and I talked about the fact that it's it's not their number one priority. I think another part of ghosting can be there's some type of decision maker that you don't know about. I mean, we'll call them the invisible decision maker. But a lot of times when you get ghosted, somebody's behind the scenes that you haven't been privy to, or you didn't know was involved in the conversation. And sometimes you've asked all the right questions, you've done everything, they just haven't revealed this to you. So one of my favorite questions to ask when something stalls, when I do get them back on the phone, when you say, could we just grab 15 minutes to talk about things, see what else has changed, is to say, basically, is there anybody else who needs to be involved? Is there anybody else that it would be valuable for me if I could give you some information to help get them over the finish line? So start to be an advocate for your contact so that they can, so that they have good, quote unquote, ammunition for the other people that are involved that you just are not engaging with.
And that statement that you just said is so valuable, because if you've taken the time to develop trust, a level of accountability with the other person, they're going to respect you for that. And they're going to understand that. And what does that allow you to do? That now allows you to ask those types of questions. This is why you have to remember the sales process today is a continuum. I've said this all along. My goal with each conversation is just to earn the right, the privilege, honor, and respect to be able to have a conversation with you again. Just keep the ball moving. I think where a lot of people get into trouble from a ghosting standpoint is they try to go with the one call close. Maybe it's not the one call close, but it's that 2 or 3, they want to just accelerate it. And they get to I'm going to push the offer across the table. And then the customer gets scared. Well, let's put it this way. I don't think the customer gets scared. The customer gets ticked off.
Yes.
The customer gets ticked off because, hold it, you're assuming something and I'm not there. I'm not ready. And what do? They just shut down. So you have to do, because I do sometimes believe that ghosting can occur because of your own actions as a salesperson. You were too aggressive early on. It doesn't mean you're not aggressive, but you got to earn the right to be aggressive because of the trust that you built with the customer.
Mark, I want to zero in. I'm going to say Bryn's comment, but we need to talk more about that, because what you just said is mic drop moment, probably the most powerful thing said on this podcast. So often ghosting came about because of your behavior. You're so aggressive at the beginning. You keep calling, if they were nice enough to get on the phone with you, they were nice enough to do a Zoom, they were nice enough to invite you into that office, and you smell blood in the water and you come on like, you're just going for the kill, you're completely not taking the clues from the customer. And emotional intelligence is so important in today's marketplace. I want to highlight Bryn's comment. You can use LinkedIn to see shared connections and leverage that relation, either by having them reach out or get permission to drop their name. Like I was talking with Mark Hunter and he said hello. That is so powerful, Bryn, because what you're doing is, if somebody's ghosting you, they're unsure. And if they're unsure, by dropping another person's name, somebody they know, it helps build credibility and trust because you're transferring that.
And this goes back to this whole thing, why it's so important to be selling within your ICP, your ideal customer profile. You stay within this industry. Because go back to the book, Harvey Mackay, you dig your well before you need the water. You build your relationships before you need them. And if you're playing in the same industry, playing in the same sandbox, many times you're going to have some of these relationships. Okay, that's a long game. I totally understand that. But using LinkedIn, because you might say, hey, who else is in that organization? Who else is there? This is where Zoom info comes into play. This is where Apollo comes into play. This is where some of these other tools that you can use to begin to say who else is out there and where do I need to develop relationships. The key thing is this. It's about making it easy for the customer to respond to you. I want to back up the bus here a little bit though, because you want to ask yourself, have you really understood, you the salesperson understood where this decision ranks in their list of priorities? Like for you with the cell phone, right? You need to make that change, but it's not one of your top 1 or 2 priorities. So here's the question. What's the question we can ask a customer as to how and where this fits in their priority? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges with getting ghosting is getting somebody back on, the conversation. So I think even showing that you work with others in the industry, and these are their top 3 priorities that we're seeing, and asking in that conversation, whether it's email or whether it's a video that you send, is just saying, where does this fall for you? What do you see? What kind of impact would solving this have on your organization? And get them to talk just a little bit deeper about the problem you're trying to solve.
And if they see you as a peer, if they see you as an expert in the industry, they're going to share that information. A question
All
I
day
love
long.
asking, I've been asking it more and more. What are your key priorities? What are your KPIs? You come right out and you ask them. Now, early on, they may be a little hesitant to tell you, but I'll tell you what, you've planted the flag, you planted the seed. And I've asked this question a number of times with a number of people over the last 6-9 months. Tremendous success. What are your KPIs? What are the big challenges you're facing? Because again, nobody's making a decision that's going to make them look stupid. Nobody's going to make a decision that there could be any level of risk involved. They want 100% certainty. And that means 100% certainty that they're going to be able to achieve their KPI. Because if they're going to make an investment to help them achieve their KPI and the investment doesn't work, not only have they wasted money, but they're probably not going to make their KPI. That's critical.
Yeah, all day long. Osama asked, what do you do if somebody doesn't have a LinkedIn account or is inactive? I had this. It's rare that I find somebody that doesn't have a LinkedIn account, but I work a lot in the travel industry, and they're active on they're active on Instagram or they're active on Facebook. They're active somewhere, and you can find those connections somewhere. I love that we have the infamous Ann McNeil joining us today, and love the hashtag This Is Living. Bryn Tillman gives another mic drop moment. Detach what the prospect is worth to you and attach to what you are worth to the prospect. Such a good mindset shift, because if you think about what you're worth to the prospect, you're going to reach out in value add ways.
This is where it's so dangerous that salespeople get commission breath, or they get a commission mindset, because they think if I just close this sale, no. Your whole focus is, what is the difference that you are going to make in the company and the people who you are going to be selling to? That is where your focus is. Again, one of the things that I always strive for, and that is, I want to understand what is the difference I'm going to be able to make in the company. And of course, I got to get that out on the table, but I got to embed that in my own thinking. because what does this do? It gives me all the confidence in the world. And I'm no longer focused on commission breath. I'm now 100% focused on helping you, the customer. That's what it's all about. We got a great global audience with us today. This is absolutely great to have you with us, Boris. Thank you so much for jumping in. Hey, well, we should need to jump to the book, but a couple more comments, because I bet you've got another thought or two on this.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I think the most important key takeaway from today's podcast is to understand and expect to be ghosted, to realize that it isn't about you and you need a plan and you need a strategy for it. I don't care how hot the conversation was. I don't care how good the conversation was, but ghosting is now a significant part of the sales process. And if you are a sales leader listening to us and you haven't trained your sales team on how to deal with ghosting, give Mark and I a call, because we'd love to talk to you.
And that means going into every call prepared with those 5 to 10 messages that you're going to be sending out afterwards that are focused on the customer, bringing value to them. Be prepared to be ghosted. The deal is always closed. The deal is always made in the follow-up, and ghosting is just a great part of it. Okay, you ready for the book?
I am.
Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Your thoughts on it? I just ordered it the other day. So
you haven't read it yet. So go ahead.
I'm barely into the book. So
okay. Well, my thoughts on it. I love thinking fast and thinking slow. Is that it is the art of being a salesperson, right? Like, you have to be able to think in the moment, to critically think, to be listening, to problem solve, and then thinking slow is about really strategizing. And I think as sales professionals, we really need to be able to do both.
Oh, excellent. Okay, lightning round. Ready?
Yeah.
Top 10 ways to deal with margin pressure. Oh, come on. Nobody's ever been pushed back. Top 10 ways.
Yeah, I think margin pressure is about doing everything you can to hold your price. And if you do everything you can to hold your price, you really have to focus first on selling value, not product.
Be confident in the outcome you're going to create. You have to be absolutely confident.
Yeah, I'd say focus on retention first and grow from the inside out.
Ooh, number 4 here. You've got to make sure that you're focused on what is the solution that they're looking for, and tie that solution to an ROI. Create the ROI for them.
Yeah, I would say that if look for other ways that you can get your price. For example, if you do have to reduce it, what are some other things that you could get, like another product or service? So you hold the profit line, but look for other ways if you have to negotiate.
Number 6, I'm going to build on that. If you do have to reduce your price, you have to take something out of the deal. In other words, if you just reduce your price, now you're giving up margin. But if you take something out, you can retain your margin and you still are able to close the sale.
Yeah, go back and look at your ICP and your high margin customers, and maybe tighten your ICP a little bit to focus more on high margin customers.
Number 8, are you going far enough up the food chain? If you're selling low into an organization, you are selling to budget-minded people. If you are selling further in towards the top, you are selling to strategic-minded people. And they are going to be willing to spend at a tremendous different level.
Yeah, I would say make sure that you maybe go back and look at your sales process and be as efficient as possible. Obviously, margins are an issue, so get really tight with your sales efficiency.
Number 10, make sure when you present your price, you don't present it as, so what do you think? Because that automatically invites the discount. You have to go in and present your price with confidence. And that means body language, eye contact, and a strong voice. And you have to be prepared to walk away. Boy, we've had a great show this morning, right?
Yeah, such a good show. I mean, I wish we had more time to share some of these comments. It's good stuff, but it'll all be in the show notes. And now, Mark and I are headed both to Las Vegas on Monday. I think Mark gets in on Tuesday morning. We're going to be hanging out there working on what we have been teasing you about for a while, and it is a new expansion of what is coming with Sales Logic. So stay tuned as we kick off in July for more information. Remember, you have questions, you have concerns. We are doing this podcast for one reason, and that is for you. We're here to solve your challenges, make you more effective at sales. So don't hesitate to reach out. Once again, you are the best audience. You take this show over the top. Cannot thank you enough for your comments. So everybody head out, close the deal. We'll see you right back here next week for another episode of Sales Logic.